Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next hour, India's Jammu and Kahsmir witnesses 54% polling till 7 p.m. Foreign diplomats visiting polling stations appreciate seeing India's free and fair democracy in action. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar calls for reforms of the UN and its subsidiary bodies, international financial architecture and multilateral trading system, while speaking at the second G20 Foreign Ministers meeting on the sidelines of the UNGA. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer tells Britons to leave Lebanon immediately as Israel and the Hezbollah attack each other, and it raises fears of a wider conflict. UN Security Council is set to meet on Lebanon soon. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosts India's history scripting gold-winning chess contingent at his residence in New Delhi. But it is marking 10 years of the Make in India initiative, driving the nation's rise as a global manufacturing hub. With exports surging in sectors like mobile phones, steel and defense production booming, the country is now a key player in the global economy, propelling India to new heights.
India has risen as a global economic powerhouse, captivating attention of investors worldwide. Through strategic initiatives like Make in India, the nation is cementing its place on the international stage, with a booming manufacturing sector and increasing exports driving its growth. As Make in India completes 10 years, Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlighted how the initiative is propelling the country forward. The production-linked incentive schemes have been game changers, enabling investments of millions of dollars and generating hundreds of thousands of jobs. Over the 1 decade, Make in India has transformed the manufacturing landscape. Mobile phone manufacturing has skyrocketed from just 2 units in 2014 to over 200, making India the second largest mobile manufacturer in the world.
In 2014-15, we were importing 74% of the mobile phones which were being sold in India. Today, we are manufacturing 99.2% of the mobile phones sold in India are manufactured in India, and in addition, we are also exporting a large number of mobile phones from the country.
India's defense production exports have soared 21 times, from $120 million to over $2.5 billion. With the aim to bring modern travel to India, Vande Bharat trains have been launched with state-of-the-art coaches that have transformed passenger travel experience. Make in India not only saved lives domestically, rather globally. India achieved COVID-19 vaccine coverage in record time, becoming a major exporter of life-saving vaccines. The vibrant toy industry is not far behind, with exports increasing by 239%, particularly benefiting local manufacturers and sellers, and not to mention the little children as well. Sectors like steel, renewable energy, semiconductors have seen impressive growth, driving exports to several countries. In over a decade, semiconductor manufacturing sector attracted investments worth over $18 billion, while electric vehicle industry is now worth over $3 billion.
India's semiconductor mission and the 5 major programs, 5 major projects which have been approved, we actually have a real manufacturing base of semiconductors in this country, which is the first real time we see it in India's history.
Indian resilience shines through global challenges. From the surge in merchandise to service exports, merchandise exports have experienced massive growth, increasing from $314 billion in 2014 to $437 billion in 2024. As India celebrates 10 years of Make in India, the momentum is stronger than ever. With Tapas Bhattacharya, Tripti Tripati's report, DD India.
Peaceful polling was held for 26 seats in Jammu and Kashmir in the second phase of polling under tight security. India's Election Commission said 54.11% polling was recorded till 7 p.m. The turnout is likely to go up further as final results are tabulated. A delegation of diplomats from 15 foreign nations also visited different polling stations in Srinagar on Wednesday to witness India's democracy in action. Take a look.
Voters living around Srinagar's Dal Lake being facilitated by the Election Commission to reach their polling booths in the Zadibal Assembly constituency. Wednesday saw people in Jammu and Kashmir step out in good numbers to exercise their right to vote in the second phase of the Union Territory's Assembly election on 26 seats. 2.5 million voters were eligible to determine the fate of 239 candidates. Till 5 p.m., 54% voter turnout was recorded in the second phase.
Everywhere there are people around, long queues since morning, and even in areas where there used to be calls for boycott, there is an enthusiasm. People are giving a statement, a running statement, a standing ovation to the democracy, to the Jamhuriyat by standing so peacefully in the queues, waiting for their turn. And this is what is the history in making in J&K.
15 diplomats toured different parts of Kashmir to get a taste of India's free and fair democracy in action. Invited by India's Ministry of External Affairs, the delegation represented the US, Mexico, Guyana, South Korea, Somalia, Panama, Singapore, Nigeria, Spain, South Africa, Norway, Tanzania, Rwanda, Algeria, and the Philippines.
Now, it's a pleasure. It's my first time that I'm visiting Kashmir, Jammu Kashmir. So it's really a privilege to be invited by the Ministry of External Affairs to come and visit firsthand today's polling stations being open.
It's very good. I mean, this is my first time in Srinagar, and it's of course important for us to visit different states and territories in India to see the election and to talk to the people. That's the most important thing.
Jammu and Kashmir Assembly elections are taking place after 10 years and for the first time after abrogation of the erstwhile state's special status in 2019. An extensive delimitation exercise was also carried out before the polls, which took the total number of seats to 90, with Jammu getting 43 and Kashmir getting 47. Since 2014, Jammu and Kashmir has been undergoing extensive transformation, which got further impetus after abrogation of Article 370 in 2019. Elections in Jammu and Kashmir are being held for the first time in 2 decades in less than 4 phases. Separatist leaders and political parties are also contesting polls after several years. Door-to-door campaigning has resumed after 37 years. Terrorism incidents have declined by 70% when comparing the decade from 2004 to 2014 and 2014 to 2024. 34,000 vacancies in government jobs have been filled after 2019. $2.74 billion worth direct benefit transfer has been carried out to beneficiaries' accounts. Investments in Jammu and Kashmir have jumped more than 8-folds from 2019 to 2020 compared to 2022 to 2023. Highest number of pilgrims participated in the Amarnath Yatra in the last 10 years. Number of foreign tourists has jumped over 2.5 times since 2019. Air traffic from Jammu and Kashmir has doubled since 2019. 45 nursing and paramedic colleges have also been established in the last 4 years. The third and final phase of Jammu and Kashmir election will be held on the 1st of October for 40 seats. Counting will be held and the results will be declared on the 8th of October. Gautam Roy's report for DD India.
We'll be talking about this transformed J&K in just a bit from now with expert guests as well. But for the moment, we're moving on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Pune on Thursday. He'll address a rally and inaugurate a new underground metro corridor. DD India's Yogesh Kumar Sheetal reports.
Pune is all set to get another infrastructure push by Modi government. The PM is scheduled to inaugurate the new underground metro corridor from Civil Court to Swargate and will also lay the foundation stone for an elevated route.
Pune is the second largest city of Maharashtra, which has gone through a tremendous transformation in urban transportation in the last 1 decade. And Pune Metro actually symbolizes this. According to news reports, around 4 lakh people traveled through Pune Metro in Ganpati festival couple of days back, which shows that the extension of metro line and new metro tracks are heartbeat of the moment.
Pune Metro is the first metro in the country with aluminium body coaches, which makes it lightest metro in the country. 100% water recycling at the station with zero effluent discharge, no tree cutting policy, integration of rooftop, Greek connector solar energy are some of the unique features of the Pune Metro.
Pune Metro are known to be the first greenest metro that we are establishing. We are almost creating 11 megawatt of rooftop solar systems. Not just that, we are also the greenest metro in the form of we have not done any tree cutting. We have always gone for tree transplantation.
Meanwhile, Punekars are excited to witness the infrastructure boost the cultural capital of the Maharashtra is witnessing.
After taking charge as the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi has visited Maharashtra 42 times. But this time, since the Maharashtra Assembly election is around the corner, this visit marks not only political significance but also a political significance at the same time. With my colleague Kapil, this is Yogesh Kumar Sital reporting for DD India from Maharashtra.
The All India Institute of Medical Science, that's AIIMS in New Delhi, celebrated its 69th Foundation Day on Wednesday. AIIMS has been ranked #1 among medical institutions for 7 consecutive years. On its Foundation Day, a fire station was also inaugurated at AIIMS New Delhi.
New Delhi celebrated its 69th Foundation Day on Wednesday. Union Minister of State for Health, Pratap Rao Jadhav, presided over the ceremony and visited the exhibition held at AIIMS. The Health Minister highlighted that AIIMS has maintained its #1 ranking among medical institutions for the 7th consecutive year, which is a significant achievement. He also inaugurated a fire station at AIIMS, the first of its kind in any medical institution.
यहाँ के समर्पित डॉक्टरों, नर्सों, शोधकर्ताओं और कर्मचारियों ने हमारे नागरिकों के करने के लिए अथक प्रयास किए हैं। एम्स नई दिल्ली हमेशा से ही अत्याधुनिक अनुसंधान, रोगी देखभाल और चिकित्सा शिक्षा में हमेशा अग्रणी रहा है।
AIIMS New Delhi serves as the National Resource Center of the National Medical College Network under the Indian Ministry of Health. Over the past 2 years, there has been more than a 30% increase in patient beds and approximately 40% increase in the intensive care and operating theatre services at AIIMS. Several new initiatives have been introduced, including AI-based diagnostic facilities. Under the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, over 7 lakh Ayushman IDs have been created. AIIMS has also launched a new feedback app where people can provide suggestions and complaints.
In line with the theme of this year's exhibition during the Institute Day celebration, we are pleased to say that implementation of AI-driven diagnostics, robotic surgeries, data analytics in predicting and preventing healthcare risks are the prime examples of how AIIMS is at the forefront of transforming healthcare delivery in India.
At the exhibition held at AIIMS, there was a stall showcasing creative items made by individuals who visited the de-addiction clinic. In the past 10 years, 22 new AIIMS have been established across the country, providing world-class medical facilities. All AIIMS are connected through telemedicine services, drone services, which will also be available at all AIIMS, facilitating the delivery of medical supplies and reports within a 25-kilometer radius. With the establishment of these 22 AIIMS, there has been an increase in the number of medical seats in the country. The central government has announced plans to add 75,000 new medical seats over the next 5 years. With Nitendra Singh, Syed Absarul Hassan reporting for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky questions the true interest of a push by China and Brazil to end Russia's war in Ukraine at the United Nations General Assembly. And Turkish medical aid shipments arrive in Beirut amid ongoing escalation between Israel and Hezbollah. Also, India's External Affairs Minister addresses the second G20 Foreign Ministers meeting of Brazil's G20 presidency in New York.
Global warming and climate change are political and ethical issues. They're issues of rights, of equality, and of justice. Let's take a look at some of these questions that surround the idea of climate justice.
We have to move to green energy, which is solar and wind and all others. And therefore, we cannot have such a large area for conservation of the GIB.
Art doesn't sort of hit you on the head and sort of make you feel defensive. It proposes, and then the viewer can take away an idea, thought, and hopefully act on it to make a bit of a difference.
They had a show called Shubh Kaal, and it was one of their oldest radio programs. So I used that show as my platform and started to work on creating content around climate change for this particular show.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, mass evacuations are underway in Lebanon as the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah intensifies, prompting nations to act swiftly in safeguarding their citizens. Britain has moved its troops to Cyprus, aiding its nationals' departure, while Israel steps up its military operations along the northern border. Here's a detailed report on the ongoing crisis.
Britain has moved 700 troops to Cyprus to assist with the evacuation of its citizens from Lebanon as fighting between Israel and Hezbollah continues to escalate. The deployment bolsters an already strong presence, including 2 Royal Navy ships, aircraft and choppers. The British government has urged all nationals in Lebanon to leave immediately amidst the intensifying conflict.
But I have a very important message for British nationals in Lebanon, which is the time to leave is now. The contingency plans are being ramped up, but don't wait for those. There are still commercial flights. It's very important that they hear my message, which is to leave and to leave immediately.
People fleeing Israeli strikes on South Lebanon arrive on the Syrian side of the border with Lebanon in southwestern Syria. International Organization for Migration said on Wednesday that at least 90,530 newly displaced people have been reported in Lebanon, including nearly 40,000 in 283 shelters. Aid have started flowing into Lebanon. On Wednesday, a Turkish shipment arrived in Beirut carrying 30 tons of medical supplies and food.
Today, we have brought by a Turkish military cargo plane of 30 tons of humanitarian assistance, mostly medications, medical supplies, and also food supplies.
In Israel, Major General Ori Gordon, head of the Northern Command, announced that the country has entered a new phase of its military campaign. Speaking during a brigade exercise on the northern border, he emphasized that Israel must be prepared for further action.
We have entered a new phase of campaign and we are now in Operation Northern Arrows. The operation began with a significant flow to Hezbollah's capabilities, focus on firepower capabilities, and a very significant hit on the organization's commander and operatives.
In a significant escalation on Wednesday, Israel widened its airstrikes in Lebanon and intercepted a missile launched by Hezbollah, which claimed to have targeted Mossad headquarters near Tel Aviv. 3 people were wounded when a house in another Israeli kibbutz was hit on Wednesday during a Hezbollah rocket barrage, medics said. United States has expressed deep concerns over Hezbollah's rocket attack on Tel Aviv. As the conflict deepens, global leaders have expressed growing concern that the situation could further destabilize the region, particularly as Israel simultaneously fights Hamas in Gaza. Amish Mahajan's report for DD India.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Wednesday said the risk of escalation in the Middle East is acute and that both Washington and its allies were working tirelessly to avoid a full-blown war between Israel and the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah. Blinken made these remarks at the start of a meeting with senior officials and ministers of the Gulf Cooperation Council, or the GCC, in New York.
We meet at a time of high tension, risk of escalation in the region is acute, and I know that we are all very much focused on that. The best answer is diplomacy, and our coordinated efforts are vital to preventing further escalation and to paving the path to greater peace and stability. With regard to Lebanon, we've been working tirelessly with partners to avoid a full-blown war and to move to a diplomatic process that would allow Israelis and Lebanese alike to go back to their homes.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar took part in the second G20 Foreign Ministers meeting of Brazil's G20 presidency on the sidelines of the 79th session of the UN General Assembly. Addressing the gathering, Dr. Jaishankar talked of reform of the United Nations, particularly the UNSC, and said that Asia, Africa and Latin America as well as the Global South need to be given voice, and expansion and proper representation is needed in the permanent category.
Expansion and proper representation in the permanent category is a particular imperative. Asia, Africa and Latin America, the Global South, cannot continue to be shortchanged. They must be given their legitimate voice. Real change needs to happen and happen fast.
And Dr. Jaishankar also called for reforming the World Trade Organization, that's the WTO, to make it equitable and just.
India calls for comprehensive reform of the WTO to enhance its functions through an inclusive, member-driven and transparent process. A reformed and fair multilateral trading system is vital for our future to be more equitable and inclusive.
Now, the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly is underway at the UN headquarters in New York. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the UN General Assembly, dismissing efforts by China and Brazil to end the conflict in Ukraine, questioning why the pair were proposing an alternative to his own peace formula.
And when the Chinese-Brazilian duo tries to grow into a choir of voices, with someone in Europe, with someone in Africa saying something alternative to a full and just peace, the question arises, what is the true interest? Everyone must understand you will not boost your power at Ukraine's expense.
President of Seychelles, Wavell Ramkalawan, while addressing the UN General Assembly, called for reform of United Nations and proper representation of Africa in the UN Security Council.
Seychelles joins the call for the UN and the Security Council to deliver the reform being appealed for by so many, with the objective not to hinder its work, but to bring inclusivity and perspective. It is time to correct one of the many injustices to which Africa has been subjected. Permanent membership of the world's primary peacekeeping institution is a necessity.
The world is grappling with the detrimental effects of illicit trade, particularly smuggling and counterfeiting, which undermine economies worldwide. Masquerade 2024, or Movement Against Smuggled and Counterfeit Trade, is now into its 10th year in India. This annual conference has become a platform for addressing the challenges posed by illicit trade. Arnold Thomas reports.
Smuggling and illicit trade are complex global threats undermining society, harming legitimate economies and reducing government revenues. Masquerade 2024, the 10th edition, is back and looks for building resilient economies and addressing the global challenge of smuggling and counterfeiting.
ये बहुत बड़ा इलिसिट जो ट्रेड है वो हमारे बिजनेसमैन भी, हमारे व्यापारी भी और हमारे लोगों तीनों से उनको प्रभावित करता है। तो उसे कैसे और सख्ती मतलब कानून और सख्त कैसे बने, उनको सजा कैसे सख्ती से, प्लेंटी कैसे ज़्यादा लगे।
This annual conference has become a crucial platform for addressing the challenges posed by illicit trade. Representatives from renowned organizations including India, Switzerland, Singapore, USA, Denmark, France, EUIPO, UNODC, WIPO and the World Customs Organization deliberated on finding solutions in the national capital.
Illicit trade can be deterred through a coordinated, multifaceted approach based on the collective knowledge and experience developed by the customs community, of course, in close collaboration
India is automatically a thought leader. What it has to do is continue doing what it is already embarked on, that is educating the world and its own population.
The report on the illicit markets in 5 key industries was also released. FMCG packaged food, FMCG household and personal goods, mobile phones, alcoholic beverages and tobacco products. Illicit markets in 5 key Indian industries is valued at 7,97,726 crore.
Unless and until we fight this menace, tomorrow same people who are today maybe supporting those countries would create trouble in their own countries. The entire supply chain gets taken over by the antisocial elements.
Illicit trade is termed as the crime of the 21st century by the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Illicit trade is the world's largest growing industry, and its size is estimated between 650 million to 3 trillion US dollars according to multiple studies. Illicit trade, or this evil business, constitute roughly around 10% of the global GDP. So creating robust methods along with implementing them is the need of the hour to curb this menace not only in India but also across the globe. Anil Thomas, DD India, New Delhi.
And let's now take a look at some other stories making the news around the world. Hundreds of residents of Barcelona protested against the country's real estate fare hike due to rising flow of tourists in the region. Agitated protesters threw coloured powder on tourists at a regional police station in Barcelona. The Labour Party's conference delegates voted against British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's decision to limit winter fuel payments to the elderly citizens of the UK. This move puts pressure on Starmer, who's been backing cuts to stabilise the nation's economy. Environmentalists from Sweden sprayed red paint on the Finnish Parliament building to demand political action against peat mining industry. Peat is extracted from wetlands, which emits large amounts of carbon dioxide into the air. And still to come on DD India News Hour, we'll be talking with our expert guests about the second phase of the J&K elections, which were also witnessed by diplomats from 15 foreign countries. India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal announces opening of an investment, trade, technology and tourism office in Sydney. And India's Finance Minister meets her Qatari counterpart in Uzbekistan, Samarkand.
And trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
On multiple hats in the Indian sports bodies and the international sports bodies.
It's for India is very, very important for us, and it's not only to me but for the country.
To act as a catalyst to put yoga on a different level.
It's a pet project as far as the Prime Minister is concerned. He himself is very keen on yoga and is always there promoting yoga.
Global warming and climate change are political and ethical issues. They're issues of rights, of equality and of justice. Let's take a look at some of these questions that surround the idea of climate justice.
We have to move to green energy, which is solar and wind and all others. And therefore, we cannot have such a large area for conservation of the GIB.
Art doesn't sort of hit you on the head and sort of make you feel defensive. It proposes, and then the viewer can take away an idea, a thought, and hopefully act on it to make a bit of a difference.
They had a show called Shubh Kaal, and it was one of their oldest radio programs. So I used that show as my platform and started to work on creating content around climate change for this particular show.
back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. And before we go any further, another look at our top stories. India's Jammu and Kashmir witnesses 54.11% polling till 7 p.m. Foreign diplomats visiting polling stations appreciate India's free and fair democracy in action. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar calls for reforms of the UN and its subsidiary bodies, international financial architecture and multilateral trading system, while speaking at the second G20 Foreign Ministers meeting on the sidelines of the UNGA. And UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer tells Britons to leave Lebanon immediately as Israel and Hezbollah attacks raise fears of a wider conflict. The UN Security Council said to meet on Lebanon soon. And let's now talk about the second phase of Jammu and Kashmir elections that have taken place peacefully. Until 7 p.m, the voting turnout has been 54.11%, which is a far cry from what it used to be during the days of the militancy. And to talk about these transformational changes that have been taking place in J&K, we have Ajay Bisaria with us, former Indian High Commissioner to Pakistan. And we have also joined by Lieutenant General Syed Ata Hasnain, former GOC 15 Corps retired, joining us from Gurgaon in Haryana. To you, Mr. Bisaria, first, what do you make in the first place of the fact that not only these peaceful elections have been conducted in 2 phases so far in Jammu and Kashmir, the turnout has been quite good, and the fact that the External Affairs Ministry also invited diplomats, 15 representatives of 15 foreign countries to witness the elections as well?
Well, I would say this is a welcome move and a smart move by the Ministry of External Affairs for multiple reasons. Jammu and Kashmir, whether we like it or not, has been in the international spotlight, and there have been a number of narratives floating around which are often fake narratives about an abnormal atmosphere of fear or of different kinds of abnormality. And it is what better way to demonstrate a move towards normalcy than free and fair elections, which are being held in Jammu and Kashmir. So I think that is the most important message for these elections, which are being held after 10 years, to not only tell the people of Jammu and Kashmir, but also the people of the rest of India and of the world that there is a very happy celebration of democracy going on in this region. And I think the fact that these elections are taking place in Jammu and Kashmir is that, this is also a unique situation of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, where a lot of narratives were floated by Pakistan about it being very abnormal or people operating under a great deal of fear. So I think the purpose of this whole exercise of allowing diplomats in is to just demonstrate that India has nothing to hide, and that the elections that are going on are moving the territory towards complete normalcy.
General Syed Ata Hasnain, what do you make of how this transformation is taking place? Because these are elections where they're being held in 3 phases, which is one really can't recall when was the last time when such a little time was taken and in such few phases elections were held, and even candidates have been able to campaign door to door, which didn't happen for the last nearly 4 decades.
Gautam Saab, there's no doubt about it that these elections are different. I have seen elections in Jammu and Kashmir since 1996, been there almost for every election. And I can vouch for this fact that they have never been so peaceful. I still remember the 1999 elections, the 2002 elections, standing at Avantipur High Ground, watching over South Kashmir. I could see perhaps 20 or 30 places where there were grenade attacks and terrorist actions taking place simultaneously. Here is a completely different situation. You're finding peaceful polling taking place. There has been no loss of lives or anything like that, no IED attacks or anything of that variety. And people are going of their own volition. I think this aspect, I completely agree with Ambassador Basaria, that this aspect of bringing in diplomats of 15 to 16 countries has been a smart act on the part of the External Affairs Ministry, because not only are these elections free and fair, also completely transparent, but must be seen to be free and fair. And that, to that effect, we have been at the suffering end of a tremendous amount of Western media propaganda, which has been ongoing for the last many years. And I hope that by projecting this, it may not happen overnight, but such narratives need to be countered completely. Narratives to say that these elections are not free and fair. We know who is the author behind all this. So these are the kind of narratives which we need to now play on to a much greater extent. Pakistan has been playing the influence operations game all these years. I think we need to take the initiative now, as just we have seen, we are taking it, and take it to its next level.
Yes, certainly. Ambassador Basaria, do you think that the kind of transparency that India has shown, not just inviting these diplomats from various missions in India to come and see how the elections are being held, as you could also make out perhaps from the soundbite that we played out from one of the ladies who was there, that they were free to interact with the people as well, you know, seek their views or just find out how things have been going for them. Can you imagine that such an access was given to these foreign diplomats in times that were very different, perhaps a decade back?
Absolutely. And I think this has been a new thinking in the government for a while. Even ever since this whole narrative battle has come out in the open. I remember as High Commissioner of India to Pakistan, I had gone to Jammu and Kashmir in 2019, even before the Article 370 move. And I returned to Delhi and advised the government, the Prime Minister and others that we should allow foreign diplomats at least to go to the valley, see at that point the security challenges that the Indian forces were facing and how well they were dealing with them. And then last year when the G20 was held, there was a special meeting of the tourism group that was held there, and a large number of foreign dignitaries did visit the region. I happened to be visiting also along with them for this meeting. And I think the sense it achieves two objectives. It allows the world to see the truth, the reality of behind some of the fake narratives that Pakistan tries to throw out. But it also gives the people of Jammu and Kashmir a certain sense of confidence that they are also global citizens, globally connected citizens, and the world is interested in what is happening in their space. And as they move towards normalcy, perhaps people in the world are appreciating that and also celebrating with them.
Certainly. And General Hussain, if I could also ask you in terms of how different again these elections are, even separatists, people of a separatist mindset, leaders, political outfits, which were once the fonts of even, I mean, they had terror links, they're now joining the mainstream by contesting the elections. What does that tell you about how the situation has really changed on the ground in J&K?
See, obviously, Gautam, the change has been so drastic on the ground that many of those who are separatist in their ideologies otherwise, radicalized otherwise, also realize that they are going to get irrelevant in the future if they are not going to participate in the electoral exercises in future. If you are a politician in Jammu and Kashmir, you can't keep on holding on and waiting forever to think or to get a perception that as if everything is now clear for you to be able to appear in the elections. People are just going to reject you. And that's exactly what has happened to parties such as the Jamaat-e-Islami you're seeing. Although it is under ban, but you are seeing at least 10 candidates who have come up on their own as independents and may virtually actually be very, very important ultimately in government formation as we go along into the future. So you are seeing almost everyone is excited. There was a time when there was just the National Conference, and the Indian National Congress. The PDP came in 2002 into prominence. Those are the only parties which were participating in the elections. Now we find multiple parties, and they also decided stakeholders in the possibility of government formation in the near future. So I think this is exciting times to that extent. Indian democracy has really played out very, very successfully. Our narratives are very clear on this and need to be expounded to the world. And that's the reason why you're seeing these scenes in front of us of people from different countries coming here to certify that the Indian electoral system is perhaps one of the fairest, most transparent systems in the world.
And of course, one phase is still to go, 40 seats, so quite a large segment of the state still to be polled. But if that phase also goes as smoothly as the previous two have gone, Ambassador Bisaria, do you think India will have sufficient ground, not that it hasn't had already, to again silence those who still raise questions about how things are being run by India and J&K, especially after the abrogation of Article 370, after taking away the special status?
Absolutely. And I think an effectively functioning democracy is the best rebuttal that can be made to people who try to promote fake narratives. There has been a fake political narrative that was promoted by Pakistan for decades. And I think, just the visuals that you're showing on television and just the what General Hussain mentioned about the kind of mood among the people and even those who held a different view is the best rebuttal you can have. You don't really need to make a long argument there. Just watching this democracy at work and functioning effectively is a strong enough statement about the way things are going in Jammu and Kashmir.
Right, right. Ambassador Bisaria and General Hussain, thank you so much for joining us and talking about it this evening. Now, India's Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal led the Indian delegation to Adelaide and met Senator Don Farrell, Minister of Trade and Tourism of Australia. Minister Goyal co-chaired the 19th India-Australia Joint Ministerial Commission meeting. He emphasized on the tremendous trade and investment opportunities yet to be explored jointly by both the countries. He announced the opening of an investment, trade, technology and tourism, that's an ITTT office in Sydney, which will have representation of Invest in India, NIC-DIC, Export Promotion and DGFT, including the private sector. There will be participation by the CI as well. Now, the primary mandate of this office would be to facilitate trade issues between investors and businesses on both the sides. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman met Qatar's Finance Minister Ali bin Ahmed Al Kuwari ahead of an annual meeting of the Board of Governors of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, or the AIIB, in Uzbekistan, Samarkand on Wednesday. Referring to the historic and deep-rooted relationship between the two nations, Minister Sitharaman said that India continues to engage with Qatar for strengthening ties. Qatar's Finance Minister appreciated the fast-growing Indian economy and welcomed the idea of exploring the huge potential of FDI in India. Nirmala Sitharaman also met Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank's President Jin Likun. India is the second largest shareholder and the largest client of AIIB. The bank's president appreciated India's contributions to the governance and overall growth of the bank and expressed his desire to explore opportunities to further strengthen ties with India. Let's now take a look at some of the other stories that have been coming in from around the country as well. Now, the Defence Research and Development Organization, along with IIT Delhi, has developed a lightweight bulletproof jacket named Abhed for Army personnel. Abhed means impenetrable. It weighs 8.2 kilograms and is of a modular design. They have both front and rear armors which provide 360-degree protection. India's newest airline, Shank Air, has received approval from the Civil Aviation Ministry to operate in the country. It will be the first scheduled airline from the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. Ahead of the Navaratri festival, hundreds of sculptors from the Indian state of West Bengal are busy preparing the idols of Ma Durga. Navaratri will be celebrated from the 3rd of next month to the 12th. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Prime Minister Modi interacts with the Indian teams that scripted a golden history at the Chess Olympiad. And India extends financial aid to 100 underprivileged students at the University of Jaffna.
Global warming and climate change are political and ethical issues. They're issues of rights, of equality, and of justice. Let's take a look at some of these questions that surround the idea of climate justice.
We have to move to green energy, which is solar and wind and all others. And therefore, we cannot have such a large area for conservation of the GIB.
Art doesn't sort of hit you on the head and sort of make you feel defensive. It proposes, and then the viewer can take away an idea, a thought, and hopefully act on it to make a bit of a difference.
They had a show called Shubh Kal, and it was one of their oldest radio programs. So I used that show as my platform and started to work on creating content around climate change for this particular show.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Antyodaya Divas is observed every year on the 25th of September. The day commemorates the birth anniversary of Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay, a key proponent of integral humanism and the founder of the Bharatiya Jana Sangh. Upadhyay's philosophy of Antyodaya continues to inspire social welfare initiatives globally.
Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay, who considered nation building and social service as the goal of his life, set an example of simplicity, honesty, and inspiration. He was not just a politician, but also a thinker, philosopher, and author of high repute. He envisioned a powerful and balanced developed nation, introducing the world to progressive ideologies like integral humanism. Deen Dayal Upadhyay was a pioneer in providing a rational direction to Indian politics and economic thinking. Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay was born on 25th September 1916 in the village of Nagla Chandrabhan in Mathura, Uttar Pradesh. After completing his education in Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh, he dedicated his life to nation building and public service. He played a vital role in establishing the Bharatiya Jana Sangh, leading to a significant impact on the country's political landscape. Throughout his life, Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay advocated for integrity in politics, staying away from electoral politics until the circumstances led him to contest the polls in 1963. Despite facing challenges, he never compromised his ideals. Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay's demise on February 11, 1968 at the Mughal Sarai railway station, amidst suspicious circumstances, left behind a legacy of principled politics and vision centered on human welfare. Bureau Report, DD India.
WASH, which is Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Initiative, spearheaded by international organizations like UNICEF, the World Health Organization and various governments, focuses on improving access to safe water, proper sanitation and good hygiene practices globally. In India, WASH aligns with the goals of the Swachh Bharat mission and complements the Swachhta Hi Seva, which is a Cleanliness is Service campaign, by addressing more systemic issues in sanitation and hygiene.
I do believe corporates have to engage in WASH, in sanitation, because by doing this, not only do we join hands with government on one of its most successful agendas, the Swachh Bharat mission, but the corporate itself benefits from the fact that the health, for example, of the villages around their factories, the healthy effects of effective sanitation and hygiene means that their workers take less leave, their families stay well, so workers aren't taking leave on that count, and we can, in fact, therefore also win the goodwill of the communities around our factories.
India has extended financial aid of 3 million Sri Lankan rupees to 100 underprivileged students at the University of Jaffna under its ongoing educational assistance program. Consul General of India in Jaffna, Sai Murali, handed over the financial aid to Vice Chancellor of the University of Jaffna, Professor S. Srisat Kunaraja. He emphasized the importance of sustained assistance to support students and improve educational infrastructure at this university. Now, in his first address to Sri Lanka to his nation, President Anura Kumara Dissanayake has said that his government will initiate immediate talks with the International Monetary Fund and make efforts to accelerate debt restructuring. Acknowledging the challenges ahead, the President promised swift action to stabilize the economy and expressed confidence in garnering support from both the Sri Lankan people and international partners. Sri Lanka witnessed its worst ever economic meltdown in 2022, suspending its external debt commitments. Global warming presents multiple challenges for the developing world. The Indian government, in collaboration with the Asian Development Bank, inaugurated a Climate and Health Solutions India conclave in New Delhi on Wednesday to find solutions for the global south. India's Health Secretary Apurva Chandra said that his ministry is committed to developing robust strategies that protect the health of country's citizens while contributing to global climate goals.
The world is going to miss the target of 1.5 degrees centigrade every year. For the past 2-3 years has been the hottest in our history. And the impact on health of human beings is one of the most important issues which we have to deliberate on, and this topic is being deliberated here by all the experts, all the states, and this is very relevant for today's, us to frame our policies. The Prime Minister has already initiated the National Program for Climate Change and in Health, and under that we have prepared the climate change programs for 36 states, which are to be released soon, and we look forward to the deliberations in this conclave for further enhancing our understanding of the topic.
India's G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant said that New Delhi's leadership during its G20 presidency has been instrumental in bringing the issue of climate change and its implications on the health sector to the global forefront. He said that through collaborations with key partners such as the ADB, India and the world have a unique opportunity to shape resilient and adaptive health systems.
Different governments have committed to at COP21 in Paris. We will breach 2 degrees centigrade definitely, and if we are not able to achieve NDC targets, 3 degrees centigrades will be breached. Now this will have a huge catastrophic impact, and this will lead to vast segments of population going below poverty line. Forests will dry up, rivers will vanish, and the worst impacted will be countries of the global south. The global south will be faced with the dual challenge of addressing climate change while meeting the basic needs of our people. And this would necessitate us to do capacity building, build infrastructure, and ensure that we are able to do technology transfer from across the world.
And time now to get you all the sporting updates as well. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted India's gold-winning chess contingent at his residence in New Delhi on Wednesday. India returned from Budapest after registering a historic victory, bagging 2 gold medals in both open and women's categories at the 45th Chess Olympiad. With this, the Indian contingent ended 100 years of waiting for the country in chess. And the All India Chess Federation announced cash rewards for the historic 45th Olympiad winning Indian teams during a felicitation ceremony in New Delhi on Wednesday. AICF President Nitin Narang made the announcement during the event. Each player from the winning team, the 2 teams, will get around $30,000, while the coaches of the men's and women's teams, Abhijit Kunte and Srinath Narayanan, will be rewarded with around $18,000 each. The winners were ecstatic with the achievement and believed that this is just a start of India's dominance. Listen in.
Last time I was part of the Olympiad team in Chennai, and we were so close to winning gold, and things didn't go our way in the very end. So I was really motivated, and the whole team, both the teams were super motivated to get the gold this time. And I think we showed that India is not just a strong country, but we are already a superpower in chess. And
I have very good memories myself from the tournament where against Hungary it looked like it's going to be a draw, all three boards, and there I felt the pressure that okay, this game is going to decide. And that win is really special to me when I won against Hungary, and also drawing against Aronian in the USA match, which was deciding the championship. And I also like to mention about the team, Srinath, Sankalp, Vaibhav, who were part of the men team.
And that's all we have for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code, which is there on the screen, and download the app now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.